I have a great HOA Karen video for you today, and our final story is a special wholesome one that happened to me. I even turned the camera on for it. Enjoy! Board member is our paid maintenance man, posted by Gloomy War 4362. So the person that does our maintenance and manages all our contracts for repairs is also a paid member on our HOA board in Florida. Is this allowed? He also selectively assists other people that live here to collaboratively negotiate for things such as new roofs so they can all get a better deal, but excludes me. I'm aware of group emails that he sent out to the community offering these group discounts. Bad blood developed when I was moving into the community and everyone told me this individual is a contractor and could help me renovate my property. I asked him if he would do the work and he said he was too busy, but he could recommend someone that turned out to be his brother-in-law. I was unaware of this relationship, and it turns out that the maintenance man was going to obtain the subs and, I assume, take his cut. I fired his brother-in-law when he stopped making progress on the renovation and started price gouging me beyond the 15% of cost. The maintenance man board member started harassing people that were working on my property and telling them that I was crazy and that this was supposed to be his job. He managed to sabotage some of the workers. He caused people to walk off the job. I would try to find subs to work on the property, and they would say that if this particular person was working here, they would not come to the property. Apparently, he has a reputation of being very territorial and giving anyone a hard time that comes to do work in the neighborhood if he has not arranged it. He also makes himself available for hire to the people that he likes. It makes it difficult for me to get repairs done on my property. Is it legal for him to be a paid maintenance man here if he's on the board? In the past, he has acted as president of the board. I don't know what role he currently is in, but he stepped down from president and got his puppet friend elected. I'm the only owner in a section of units which is not maintained, as is the areas where board members reside. The hedges are dead, which allows road noise and lack of privacy. The rest of the property has 15-foot hedges. There's a sunken area in the asphalt parking lot behind my car. The entire lot was resurfaced. They were supposed to fill on the hole, which is so bad that they had evaluated by an engineer to determine if it's a sinkhole. I was told the work was to include this sunken area as it puts my 4-pod building, and particularly my unit, at risk for flooding. This community is on a barrier island oceanside. The water from the sunken area splashes on my car when traffic goes through it, as residents pass by frequently since I'm near the community entrance. This has damaged the paint on my car. I've been telling them about it for a year with no response. We have assigned parking, and I've asked for permission to park in an alternate space. After the repairs, I emailed the board with photos showing the ponding was not repaired and was worse. I also noticed a much smaller area of standing water in another area. Somehow, the HOA president thought he was emailing the paving company, which he admitted to me in an email, and told them only to repair the smaller area behind another building. When I replied and said, "Hey, what about the larger area of standing water?" he told them not to fix it. Again, he did not realize he was communicating with me. I called the paving company and they said the HOA board had to request the repair behind my building. I emailed them and I informed them of my concerns, the conversation, and the need for them to make the repair request. The paving company also said there must have been a miscommunication because they were not to fill the hole as there is no place for the water. They said that when the job was discussed with the board member maintenance man, the suggestion was made to level the area, which would allow it to disperse across the blacktop and evaporate more quickly. The maintenance man did not agree, so it was not done this way. Our HOA fees are being doubled to help pay for this major project. I feel that I'm not being treated like the other people that live here because of what happened with the contractor and his relationship to the board member. My property is being devalued due to flooding in the parking lot immediately behind my unit and the lack of privacy and hedge coverage on the front of the unit. On each entrance of the property, there are beautiful palm trees that all had lights shining up into the trees that were turned on at night. They helped with deterring crime and was also beautiful. All of the lights by my building are broken and smashed into the ground. I have sent several emails to the board over the last year requesting that the lights be repaired. No response. Only response I have ever gotten from the board was when they accidentally sent the message to me that they thought was going to the paving company by their own admission. The property manager does respond, but it's snarky and not reliable. There is one absentee owner that is somewhat helpful, and he sent the property manager an email about the hedge, and she told him it had all been replanted and resolved. She knew that was not the case. Do I have any recourse other than sell or try to not let it bother me? I can't get support from owners as most here rent, and he has badmouthed me to everyone, including my teenage daughter when he cornered her at the trash cans. It seems that homeowners associations have a lot of power, and a common answer is either hire an attorney if you have grounds and spend a lot of money, or get yourself elected to the board. Is this my only recourse to shut up and put up with this? I am getting up in age, 60 plus, so I must have even the most minor work hired out, which is difficult in this situation. Decades ago, someone set this property up so that the outside building maintenance is all our responsibility, and I believe we also own the property lines in front and back to the easement of the highway and the neighborhood behind. They cover the grounds maintenance outside of our individual courtyards. I'm told by the county that this is a very unique setup. I live alone, and I'm afraid of him. He won't do any work for me, and he won't even talk to me. My issue is that he tries to run off anybody that I hire, even after I've produced their credentials to the property manager, including proposal, getting the work approved, and submitting their insurance information. He also does all the contracts for maintenance with outside providers on the property and has them do shoddy work around my property. He's very vindictive. Commenter says, sounds like you need to run for the board. We had to take ours back from retirees. A few of them were making the HOA their life. The one guy, probably like the one you're dealing with, was always somewhere doing something. Relevant or not, little value added, just doing something. Oddly, we had a case of not raising HOA fees to match inflation. With fixed income retirees running the show, everything was going shoddy. The lawn service was killing our lawns, sprinkler systems, gate system just not working and not getting updated. Responses of, but we're just volunteers, was endless. Anyhow, yeah, want change? Run for the board, get your neighbors to pay attention for a second, maybe get a couple more to run, and take your HOA back. It's a multi-year process, but we own ours now. HOA levies fines even though I'm not part of the HOA, with updates. My parents had an existing fence on their property that was falling apart. They tore the old fence and built a new one without a building permit. A couple of months later, they receive a notice from the HOA stating that they are in violation of the governing document because they had the fencing installed without filing a building permit with the Osceola County or notifying the Architectural Control Committee as per the deed restrictions requirement. My parents are not part of the HOA. The notice also includes the following statement. Additionally, our records indicate that you are not a member of the Homeowners Association. We highly suggest that you complete the enclosed application and submit this with the annual dues of this amount. They were invited to attend an HOA meeting to contest these fines. However, they were unable to attend due to an emergency. Since they did not attend the meeting, the HOA levied a $1,500 fine and planned to file a property lien against their home. My parents tried to get more information, but the number provided does not return their calls. At the moment, I'm trying to pull deed records from the county to determine if there are any deed restrictions. I plan to help the folks to contact the HOA representatives if they do another meeting regarding the fine. So can the HOA impose fines if my parents are not part of the HOA, or is it dependent on what the deed restriction says? It just appears counterintuitive to not be part of the HOA, yet they still have to receive approval for a fence regardless of deed restrictions. We're hoping to remove the fine. So I've received some clarifying information from the folks. The HOA has yet to put a lien on the property and they only threatened it. Update time. I found the deed. However, it is one page. I'm not sure if this is typical for HUD purchased property. There is some language that concerns me regarding restrictions, which I comment below. I found the record plat and saw no mention of an HOA. Nonetheless, I told my parents to call the title company for more details. Unfortunately, I found the restrictions document and covenant titled Restrictions on Real Estate for this subdivision, and my parents' lot and record plat. I found the documents on the county recording website, and it says, "No building shall be erected, placed, or altered on any lot until the construction plans and specifications and a plan showing the location of the structure have been approved by the Architectural Control Committee as to the quality of workmanship and materials, harmony of external design with existing structures, and as to location with respect to topography and finished grade elevation." So what would you do in these shoes? Is this fair? Let me know. HOA wanted me to replace a dead tree. My wife and I purchased a house in a neighborhood that had mostly retired families. There were several other families in the area that had kids, but for the most part, it was older folks. We bought our house the day before Thanksgiving and moved in overnight and into the morning. The following Monday, I received a letter from the HOA that I had a dead tree in my front yard and I needed to have it replaced. There was a rule that we needed to have 2 trees, one in the back and one in the front yard. So I contacted them and I said, hey, there was no way I was going to plant a brand new tree that would die immediately and that the ground was too hard. We live in northern Colorado. I told them that I would replace it the following spring, and they agreed that that would be okay. The following spring, on the official first day, they sent me another letter saying that I needed to replace the tree. I again told them that the ground was too cold and hard to replace a tree, and I didn't want to spend money on a tree that would immediately die. After several exchanges and a phone call to a local nursery, they agreed that I could wait a little longer. Now driving into the neighborhood, there is a division between entering and exiting the neighborhood. This is the HOA property, and they had a good-sized tree there. The tree had died and was in view of the main road and everyone entering into the neighborhood. I finally got a fine in the mail about my dead tree. I refused to pay that fine, and I told them when they got rid of their dead tree, I would remove mine. They pushed back and said that, as a homeowner, they could fine me, and I needed to follow the community guidelines. I continued to refuse to pay the fine and had a friend who was a lawyer contact them. They agreed to remove the fines and still said that I needed to follow the guidelines. After a few weeks, when I was driving into the neighborhood, I saw their tree had been cut down. When I got home, I got my axe and I chopped down my dead tree. I replaced the tree soon after. After this whole incident, someone from the HOA would walk by my house and measure my grass and would constantly harass me. This was one of the several issues that I had with that HOA. Luckily, with a new kiddo on the way, we moved to another town into a larger house. I had a coworker who lived a few houses down from me, and she said that they started harassing her too about her grass being too long. She worked nights at a hospital and would sleep during the day. She moved out of the neighborhood shortly after I did as well. This commenter said they would have cut down the dead tree, used it for firewood in the winter, and then got a fake tree off Amazon and planted it. Oh, it says here, our rules about trees never mention if they have to be real or not. Would have you done that too? Let me know. This story has an update. Current HOA voted out, but not leaving. Advice on how to proceed. Posted by JNash85. OP gets us up to speed by saying, the quick update is that the HOA is trying to do a special assessment for a roof replacement, which would cost around $4,000 for each owner. A special meeting was held by the homeowners to vote to remove the 2 board members and fire the management company. We need 63 votes to pass, and we only had around 40 people show up. So nothing happened. However, it seems that in the bylaws it is written that since we did not have enough people show up to vote for a majority, we can meet again and only need around half the original number. So that meeting was held Saturday, and everyone in attendance, 44 people, voted to remove the members. There was a notice on my door Saturday evening stating the outcome and telling us that the current board members and management company would receive a letter by certified mail on Monday that their services were no longer needed. They also stated we have a new board, presumably voted in at the meeting on Saturday, and we will be self-managed. There was another notice on my door today, this time from the current management company and current board members. It stated that they are still having a meeting to vote on the roof assessment tomorrow, that we have a contract with the management company and they have serious concerns about the 2 meetings that were held to vote them out. My question is, what do I do here? I was present at the first meeting to vote them out, but could not make it to the second one. However, I did vote ahead of time to remove the members and the management company. I am inclined to go to the other meeting tomorrow, but I asked the person who has been leading this cause, and they said that they are advising everyone not to go, so that they cannot get the votes for the roof assessment. Personally, I think everyone should show up, confront the management company, and vote any special assessment down. As far as I know, everything has been done by the books, but I do not want to get in a situation where the management company says I owe them dues, and the new HOA says no, you don't, you need to pay us. I was on the fence about how I would vote during the first meeting, but the guy from the management company showed up, caused a scene, and had to be removed. That told me everything I needed to know about him. Update. First off, thanks for all the replies. I am not going to update so much on the roof, as this is now about having 2 HOA boards fighting it out. For the record, I do think the roofs should be replaced. Well, it seems I was in the wrong side of this one. I attended the meeting with the current board and the management company tonight. There were about 35 people there out of 100 units. I only spotted 4 or 5 that were at the special meeting to vote these people out. The management company presented parts of the bylaws and enough proof that I feel the special meeting was not valid and this new board should not be recognized. Additionally, the new board posted a notice on everyone's doors instructing then where to pay their new dues. Personally, I will not be doing that. I will continue to pay the management company my dues. If this goes to court, they can decide. Also, the 2 board members that were there made the case that the members of this new board were free to run to be on the legit board. In fact, they were begging people to join. Popcorn. You're going to need lots of popcorn. This is going to be fun to watch, commenter says, and OP replies, good point. On one hand, this is pure entertainment for me, but I don't want to mess with 2 groups asking for HOA dues. Weird interaction with a weasel of a neighbor, posted by These Ask Eddie 04. I'm in an HOA in Northern California. I'm renting my house, and in the last year, I've gotten 4 notices from my landlord that there have been complaints sent in about our front yard. 2 were related to our lawn being too long. One was about a hedge that was overgrown, also not my hedge but my neighbor, and one for my trash can not being behind our fence. All stupid. Luckily, my landlord is really understanding and patient, and I was able to explain everything. We had a 4th kid right after moving in, and it was during the crazy rains that we had in California, so it goes without saying, I was a bit preoccupied during any time that I wasn't working, and really wasn't caring to mow my lawn in a downpour. The other lawn problem, it was dumb because the photo submitted was taken literally the day after I mowed the lawn. Like, the person taking the photos were so bent on getting me, they tried to retroactively submit a complaint. One thing I noticed was that the photos were taken from the exact same angle. I have my main lawn in front of the left side of my house, and then the driveway, and then a small strip of side yard grass to the right. The kicker is, the photo locations only showed my side yard, when the main yard would have looked much worse, probably even complaint-worthy. But nonetheless, I got the feeling that whoever took the photos lived to the right of me somewhere and didn't want to risk being seen from my window had he taken the photo dead on. So, one Saturday morning, I was coming out to mow my lawn, and I see the weasel getting ready to take another photo. He had his dang iPad up and everything. So I just said, "Hey, good morning, can I help you?" The guy, an older gentleman, maybe in his 70s, I'm a terrible judge of age, he just panics and he tucks his iPad under his arm and he starts scuffling down the sidewalk. I thought, oh heck no, face me you jerk. So I just followed him at a distance, like at least 50 feet back, and I asked him if there was an issue. Why are you photographing my house? And so on. I knew why, obviously. Well, he gets about 4 houses down, and he quickly goes in his garage and frantically shuts it while looking back at me. I am not an imposing figure. I'm actually a really nice guy. I smile and I say hello to everyone that I pass. I don't raise my voice. So his sheer terror of my presence was actually funny, but not necessary. I just wanted to ask him just to let me know when he thinks I'm out of regs rather than continue reporting me. I've never met this guy. I don't know what his issue is with me. I just must have a target on my back now. At least my landlord gets it. Commenter says, stand in front of his house and take pictures, and OP replies, I like that, though I'm sure I'll have another notice sent for being a nuisance or something, or the police called. And we get some answers here. Sounds like he's targeting you for being renters. He had to travel down 4 houses to photograph your yard, and he panicked when caught. Of course he could just be a busybody. Definitely ask the other neighbors about him. And OP says, very possible. I know that one neighbor across the street, who works out of town 5 days a week, got dinged for his lawn once, but he's been here for 3 or 4 years, so that's a pretty good record. Other neighbors haven't received anything that I know of, and I asked. I really don't have any quarrel. If he's just some old busybody, I should still be keeping my lawn nice, and life has gotten a bit less hectic than it was back then. I'm just the kind that likes to have a face-to-face conversation and close things out, you know? If there's an issue or I'm a concern, just tell me. I'll be sure to do the same. And OP answers about why you can complain about a lawn being long like that. He says, I wish I could answer that. The first time, yeah, it was a bit unruly. The second time, it wasn't even that bad before I mowed it. Like 2 weeks from the last mow, and it's summer in Northern California, the lawn isn't growing fast. It's ridiculous. HOA said, too bad, we're out of luck, posted by Miss Contrary Mary. My husband and I own a condo in Georgia. All the windows in our unit face the pool. About 3 weeks ago, bright stadium-style floodlights were installed in our pool area. The first night, these were on all night. It was so bright, it basically looked like mid-afternoon inside our condo, even with our shades down. This was the entire night in all of our unit because every room has a window. My poor husband couldn't sleep at all. We reached out to the board and we let them know. We agreed to the lights being on until 10 p.m. when the pool area closes, until a more permanent and reasonable solution could be found. Last night, the lights were on until midnight. We reached back out, asking about it. Apparently, in the board meeting that was held yesterday, they decided, for safety reasons, they need the lights on and suggested that we get blackout curtains. Now, we received an email that there was a meeting, but there was nothing mentioning that lights would be discussed or voted on. Had that been the case, we would have rescheduled our previous engagement to attend said meeting. They just simply told us the association has an obligation to ensure that the community remains well lit and safe for all residents to enjoy. I'm hoping to get some advice or input regarding what we can do. We don't think it's fair to have to foot the bill for installing and maintaining curtains. More importantly, we think it's unfair that they're just saying tough luck, deal with it. I mean, their actions are directly affecting our life inside our own unit. Any and all advice will be greatly appreciated. Update: the managing company actually asked to meet with us today, and they let us know that, unfortunately, they couldn't just turn off the one particular light outside our windows, because if they shut one light off, they all shut off, and this makes people complain because they can't see when they're walking their dogs at 2 a.m. They again touched on blackout curtains, and we told them that we are definitely open to the idea, but because it's something being forced on us, the HOA would have to cover the cost of installing and maintenance. There was a bit of back and forth, and we mentioned a few things that people here mentioned, and after a few calls, they agreed that they would order and install timers. The timers would be set so that the light affecting us would turn off at 10 p.m. and maintain the others on. The timer should be here next week, and meanwhile, we agreed to the lights being on every other day until they get installed, but we did make it clear if it's going to go beyond next week, we expect the lights to be off until they arrive and are installed. Like I said, I really appreciate everybody's advice. This is my first time dealing with an HOA, and it's given me valuable information if I need it in the future. This great comment says, find all of the condo owners that face the pool and show up en masse to the HOA meeting. I've actually dealt with the situation of huge floodlights being on outside of your window with loud machinery at night hours. It's really infuriating. So I understand, OP, what you're going through, and I'm glad that you're finally getting a resolution. Seriously, it sucks. Wouldn't you agree? To be thankful and celebrate today, let's end with a wholesome story that happened to me the other day, as retold by me. So my wife, my son, and I were all shopping in Target, and she went to go look at some things, so I took him to the electronics section. See, I grew up in the 90s and 2000s, I'm in my mid-30s, and I knew that growing up as a kid, that's always the place I wanted to be. Right? I had all the games, all of the fun stuff that kids like to have. So when I was growing up in the 90s, if you remember from Walmart, different places like that, there were these gaming kiosks that were placed up in the electronics section to where you would look up, crane your neck up, and you would play video games in order to test out demos and pass the time while your parents shopped. Well, I haven't seen those in years. It seems like those have all but gone by the wayside. But I get that. Things change, times change, things move on. Well, when we were in Target, I took him over there, and lo and behold, it wasn't a PlayStation 1 or a Super Nintendo type of device like in the olden days of yore, but there was a Nintendo Switch device, and it was a kiosk setup. And you might be wondering, well, what's the significance of this in the story? So I went over there, and I played video games with my son in the store, and we had a fun bonding experience there. And it reminded me, that thing that I did 25-something years ago by myself in the store, that I'd long since seemed to be gone, that is what I was able to bring back with him as an experience some 25 years later with my child. Looking back, isn't that kind of such a cool thing to be able to have that experience growing up, and then you experience that same thing that you both enjoy as well? The HOA finds me, but I'm not even in the HOA. Click the video on your screen so you don't miss the fallout of this one, and I'll see you there.